A lot of who I am or what I know a man to be is what I learned observing my father as a child and my grandparents and whatnot. And obviously we have in this social consciousness the expectancy to age the body and whatnot. And I look at my father and I can feel it in my expectancy. Oh, this will, when I'm about that age, as I move through time, I can kind of see how my body will change. But obviously, we're just the reflection of our energy flow.
Yes.
I've read books that say the body could just as well youth if
yes.
we would align our energy. Is that
yes.
so? I mean, I could be youthing.
Yes. And you would like it to a certain degree.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, because every cell.
Till you reach the age of about 14, and then you'd start to panic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I figure right now I'm still at a relatively young age, and it would be great if I could just regenerate myself as I am.
The best way to go about that is do not talk about age, because age is really moving through time. Mm-hmm. And there's so much thought form about moving through time. In other words, you have clocks everywhere and calendars. In other words, you are such measures of time that it is not likely that you will be able to remove yourself from the feeling of aging. Mm-hmm. But you certainly could remove yourself from the feeling of declining. In other words, you could, so now let's talk about this a little bit. Let's say that you visit with your father and you see him responding not as healthfully in his body as you've seen before, and you hear him making some comment about, I'm not as young as I used to be or something, and you have the conscious thought, yeah, he's not. I can remember when he were far different, and I hope I don't get that way anytime soon. In other words, you find yourself fully in the thought. Mm-hmm. And with it comes negative emotion, that feeling of uneasiness, that feeling of youth passing, or that feeling of limitedness. Mm-hmm. And as you feel it, you don't like the feeling of it, but you are alert to your guidance system because you've been lining up energy on a number of different subjects. And so you stay with it a little bit and you say, well, I don't like the feeling of declining, and I don't want to get sick, and I don't want to deteriorate in my body, and I don't want to end up with tubes up my nose, and I don't want it to be a constant, steady decline, and I don't want to go the way that most people do. In other words, you inflame what you don't want, exclude for a little bit, and then begin feeling the eruption of desire. I want to maintain my zest for life. I want to feel full and exhilarated and youthful. I want my body to continue to operate at its peak performance. I want to, in each moment, be such a vibrational match to my core energy that I keep non-physical energy flowing through me. In other words, I want to always, as long as I choose to be, I want to be a vessel through which life force flows. And as I'm a vessel through which life force flows, then my vessel will be receiving the benefit of that life force. I can be eternally youthful and vital and alive. And as you hold yourself there, can't you feel yourself buoying back up? In other words, that feeling that you had just a moment ago is gone. And as you begin to do that more and more, you will begin to, things that people say will start sticking out like sore thumbs. You hear it everywhere as they plan their own demise, you see. And you will find yourself in the beginning maybe tensing against it and wanting to correct their verbiage and wanting to show them what they're doing wrong. But in time, you'll be so at one with your knowledge of well-being that as you see leaves dropping from a tree, or as you see fruit dropping from a tree, or as you see people dropping from their trees, you acknowledge that it's all just part of the process and that each one is having their individual experience, but that you, for one, are tapped into the energy stream. We promise you, friends, the only thing people ever die of is lack of energy. And lack of energy is only because they don't have something. It's for two reasons. Either they don't have something that they're summoning energy toward, or they have something that they're summoning energy toward that they don't believe. You see, and the sudden deaths, the strokes and the heart attacks and the freakish accidents and those sorts of things are usually, not always, but usually because there is strong wanting but a vibration that is not in harmony with it. And we have to remind you too, some deaths are very well planned from non-physical perspective. In other words, there are many of you who come forth and intend to have short, dramatic, sweet, delicious, pure positive energy experiences because you know you can come as often as you like. Sort of like you choose many movies, you say.
Okay. How do you relate that to the, you've said that the only thing that kills us is fear, or we only die of fear, or when...
Well, isn't fear is your indicator that in this moment you're not allowing the energy to flow. In other words, remember the analogy of the fan in the room, and the fan is the pure positive energy, and then you stick your finger in it. That's what negative emotion is. And so fear is the feeling that you have when you are offering thoughts or including in your vibration things that are not in harmony with the stream. In other words, it's either not summoning the energy or not letting the energy flow once you do summon it. Oh, to summon non-physical energy through strong desire and then not let the energy in that you've summoned because of a contradictory belief? Oh, that's fun, isn't it? In other words, that's the havoc that you see in people's experiences. And then you see the other extreme where they've done that, they don't like that, and so they stop wanting altogether. They stop allowing themselves to want, so they don't summon any more energy. And that's really what physical death is. It is just the petering out of energy. And the only reason energy would ever peter out is because you, the conscious, focused, physical extension, no longer has something that you're creating that you're summoning energy toward. That's all. You can stay eternally youthful if you stay eternally interested in something, you see. But that's the reason that most of you don't ask for or intend long physical experiences, is because you eat this earth up pretty quick. Been there, done that, you say pretty fast over lots of things. In other words, you fly around, Esther says, same restaurants in every city. Why go on? She loves the feeling of adventure and exploring the new, you see. And so you have to keep being willing to find something else to explore. And most of you haven't even begun that, because you haven't allowed yourself the 17 seconds that begets the 17 seconds that begets the 17 seconds. You haven't allowed yourself to connect with the energy stream in the way that creators really do, you see. You hear of generations before you who have lived longer lives than you do. And we say, yeah, the reason is because there was more for them, at least in their way of thinking, to explore. They were interested, stimulated.
We have about 30 seconds.
It's exhilarating to come together with those like you. Be easy about this. We will see most of you tomorrow. Bring with you tomorrow your dominant desires. Chew on them a little bit tonight. In other words, sit if you have an opportunity with a notebook and play a very powerful what-if game. If I had access to unlimited energy, and if I understood that that unlimited energy could be manifest in any way that I choose, how would I selfishly like to utilize it? Toward what end? And just sort of make a little list and watch what happens tomorrow. There is great love here for you. We are complete. Good morning.
Good morning.
You are refreshed.
Yes.
You are ready to begin?
Yes.
Begin wherever you are wanting. Begin there, if you will.
Yeah, you've said that we don't carry karma from past lives to our life now. And yet you've also mentioned that we have a certain amount of influence. We are influenced by our past lives. I wonder if you can speak on that. And also, what choices we have before we are born. How much we can segment intend our lives, how much we have had the option to do that, or is it more of a overall intending?
The reason that we approach karma in the way that we do is because most physical beings are trying to understand this life, this physical life that they are now living in this moment, as it relates to other lives that they may have lived. In other words, from my now physical perspective, to my then physical perspective. And it's difficult for you to understand the connection of all that you are when you try to do it from your physical perspective. Now, here's what we mean. Everything that you are now living is, when you are connected to your core energy, is an extension of that core energy. As you live this physical experience and you are basking and appreciating and acknowledging your well-being, in all of those moments, you are a true and pure extension of who you really are. And when you die, you will reemerge back into that pure positive energy. But most physical beings who are approaching or talking about that which they have lived before are not talking about it from their place of connectedness. You see what we are getting at? Now, the easiest way to understand how this physical experience relates to others, or even more importantly first, how this physical experience relates to this non-physical experience. Because remember, in this moment that you are physical, much more of you is non-physical. Physical beings tend to think in terms of being dead or alive, physical or non-physical, when the reality of it is you are always non-physical, and sometimes you are expressing yourself into the physical also. So you are always physical and non-physical at the same time, you see. So as you acknowledge, and we know that you can easily hear this from what you have come to understand already, when you are feeling at your very best, when your heart is singing, when you are basking or appreciating or applauding, when you are tuned in, turned on, and tapped into that non-physical energy, when you are truly the extension of that non-physical energy, you can feel the presence of your inner being within your now experience. When you hold a thought about something not wanted for any length of time, say more than 17 seconds, you manage to begin to vibrate in a way that is not in vibrational harmony with your core. So in that moment, you are not the pure connection to your core energy. In other words, your inner being, who you really are, is not reverberating through you in this moment because you have chosen something as your object of attention that is vibrationally separate from that. Now, so the thing that often sort of jolts you into a fast understanding is, if your inner being will not join you in a negative thought in this moment, then don't you find it illogical that your inner being would say to you, well, you didn't get it right last time, so let's go forth and try it again. You see what we're getting at? In other words, now we know that karma is not always regarded in a negative way from our physical friends, but it is usually regarded in a negative way from our, in other words, it's an extension of that old story that you keep telling each other that says we are unworthy beings here trying to prove some sort of worthiness, and we keep coming back lifetime after lifetime to try to get it right. And we say it is nothing like that. You are creators that are continually looking for new arenas in which to create, period. In other words, that's the attitude with which you come forth into the physical. Now, you've been hearing us talking a lot about this 17 seconds, 17 seconds, 17 seconds. And it is also becoming more obvious to you that if you are now in this physical body, continuing to extend that non-physical energy, in other words, if the intentions that you hold today dovetail with the intentions that you held when you were born, you feel the resonance of those intentions. And so as you understand that, then it's logical that, hey, I was born with intentions. I didn't just blunder into this physical experience saying whatever will be, will be. I had intentions when I came forth. When I